to the screen as opposed to my smiling face, but that's what I look like, that guy over there in the corner. And I appreciate everybody jumping in here and doing this with us. Let me turn that camera off. So in a series, an ongoing series of webinars that we've been doing over the course of the spring and the summer, we've been talking about various Salesforce products, sometimes partner products, sometimes different ways to sort of use Salesforce, extend Salesforce. And today, we're going to talk about Salesforce Maps, which is not the latest, but one of the latest additions to the Salesforce suite. It used to be Map Anything. They acquired it a couple of years ago and have done a really good job. Editorially, they've done, it's not always true. They've done a really good job in this case of integrating the tool very seamlessly into their Sales Cloud and Service Cloud suites and Marketing Cloud so that you can see the data. Today, we're going to kind of run through an overview of how maps work. I'm going to do a demo of it, and then one of our clients, Blake Reynolds from Southland Transportation Group, is going to talk us through kind of how it works there. So I'll be showing a demo of a demo org of Salesforce, and Blake will be talking over that, kind of about his experience with Salesforce. In terms of how we're going to do this, we're going to give you a quick overview of Salesforce Maps. By 10 o'clock, 10:10, something like that, we should be ready to start in on the demo piece. And Blake and I will kind of walk through that, and at the end, we're going to leave 5 minutes for Q&A as we go through that. But like everything else, we're going to start with a shameless plug kind of up front. BlackIron's been doing this a long time. So Salesforce, as you guys know, kind of uses partners to help customers implement it. BlackIron is a charter member to that club. We've been doing this for 17 years at this point. So a lot of experience in the Salesforce tool, 2,100 projects for a variety of clients, for projects big and small around the various clouds in Salesforce, and kind of extending it into other places. Particularly, we're good at ERP and DMS integrations out to external systems. We have a kind of philosophy, I guess, that is let those systems be those systems. Let ERP do what it does. Let DMS do what it does. And take advantage, be the recipient, sort of the beneficiary of the data that exists in those systems inside of Salesforce. We've done a few webinars on that process, and I'm happy to share it with anybody who wants to see it or have a conversation with you about it. We're well versed in the manufacturing space and in the trucking dealership space, and that's kind of where our focus has begun to sort of settle in. But we've got experience around the various Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, CPQ, as it relates to those two sectors and those industries. Like I said, Salesforce a couple of years ago bought or acquired Map Anything and got Map Anything kind of seamlessly integrated, in my opinion, into the various pieces of Salesforce. Salesforce itself is a great tool, can help you sort of find customers. You guys are probably all familiar with the way that the views work in Salesforce, and you can get a lot of information on how that works. But, there's a piece of this that's a little tougher than that, in our opinion, that you can't really do just with views. And so Maps kind of comes in there to help us kind of take that to the next level. We can take information in the tool and basic address information, which I guess you could do in Google Maps. But then you could start to overlay that data with all kinds of interesting things that happen inside of Salesforce. Activity data, right? Who's the last time we talked to them, and kind of put that in an order. How do prospects align with the actual accounts we have? How does that data sort of lay out? And kind of take that information, layer it against each other, and take it to the next level. I think Maps is, as you'll see as we walk through this, is truly a really kind of revolutionary product in terms of, it's Google Maps for sure, but it's got all that data that you've got in Salesforce, and we can start to overlay that and make that in a very interesting and kind of compelling way. And then that information can be mobilely accessed so that the reps out in the field have an easy way to kind of get to that information to run through it. I'd like you to introduce to Blake. Blake is the Senior Vice President from Southland. Southland is a trucking dealership in Alabama. They sell primarily international trucks. They've got locations kind of all over the state. They've been around for a long time as well, a lot longer than we've been around for sure. And they've got kind of we started in with them early in terms of sort of building out opportunity management and some of that kind of work, but we also jumped into Maps really right from the start. And I think Blake was kind of instrumental in making sure that Maps was part of the success package, I guess, at Southland. So everybody meet Blake, Blake meet everybody.
Hey, quick question. Is there a Teams meeting number you can send us? I'm having problems getting on the Teams visual.
Sure. How do you think, like send you the link or?
Usually there's just a code I type into Teams.
Oh, the number. Okay, sure. Do I have meeting info? Here we go. All right, so the meeting number is 353-622-488.
Okay, thanks.
Good. Great. Okay. And so now everybody meet Blake. Blake meet everybody.
How are you, sir?
Good. All right. So I'm going to kind of jump in and start through some of the work. Southland struggles with stuff we see across anything, right? The ability to sort of tell the difference between customers, figure out which customers we haven't seen in a particular amount of time, what customers existed for specific territories. They built out a really sophisticated kind of territory management piece in Maps. And then finally, once we've kind of seen these people, what do we do to sort of record the results of that meeting? So we have that information institutionalized, I guess, for lack of a better word, inside of Salesforce. Blake, do you want to kind of add some color around that?
Yeah, no, I mean, for us, the Maps piece was kind of integral. Gosh, sorry to put it over this. It's just one of those things for us. The Maps added a visual component to something we thought we already knew, and that in an area that we weren't covering. For our salesmen, we carry a fairly large geographic area. We have zip coded all of our territories, and then salesmen are assigned those territories, whether they be outside parts or new truck sales. And so the Maps component allowed us to kind of see visually where everybody was going, assign tasks, allow them to kind of pre-plan some things and not get to a situation where, today's a Thursday. They say, hey, Monday, I'm going to drive out and see this customer. They may be out 90 miles away going to see a customer, and then logically pass 10, 12, 15 customers that they probably could have seen, but it wasn't maybe at the forefront of their, what their thought process was for that Monday. So the Maps piece allowed us to go in and say, oh, I see you're going out there Monday. Man, I need you to go see so-and-so or so-and-so, or who haven't you seen in 90 days? Why don't you look that up? So the Maps piece has really been a very nice benefit for us.
Nice. We kind of do a challenge slide and then a success slide as we kind of walk through this. We helped Southland build out some layers. We're going to show you some sample layers in 90 seconds. And then Southland used that to kind of plan and organize routes, build a schedule, and then document that out in the field. So all of it, like I said, is available through Salesforce Mobile. And then we've got some reports and dashboards that sort of spell out what happened out in the field, so we can go through that. So at this point, I'm going to jump in and take a look. I hear myself on an echo there. All right, so let's jump into Salesforce here. All right, can everybody see Salesforce? Hopefully. Yep. Okay, so you're probably all familiar sort of with how the base Salesforce views functionality works, and it's pretty slick. I mean, there's some really interesting stuff kind of built into base Salesforce. I can, for instance, see a list of all my accounts in the system, and I can sort by state, so I can see my California records or my Connecticut records or my New York or New Jersey records. I can figure out when was the last time I talked to them. There's a days of last activity. I can figure out what type they are. So there's a lot of interesting information inside of just sort of the base the base Salesforce function. But what it doesn't really give us the ability to do is kind of take that information, start layering on top of itself, and start to figure out more information. And I think that's where kind of Maps comes in. So I'm going to click into Maps here. I've already loaded this record for my team's accounts, and so these are all the accounts I've got in the system. And I'm just going to click on one of these records and center my map right over here in New York. And if I kind of huddle in on this, you kind of quickly see that the map starts to render over and over again. I mean, you know, everybody who's used Google Maps kind of knows how this functionality works. But essentially, this gives me a much more kind of detailed view into those records. And so this is a really interesting way to kind of see where my accounts are. Inside of this layer, I can start to put on other pieces of information. And so if I want to see information at the territory level, I can draw that information out inside of the system. And so at Southland, we put that information together so that we could see basically the territory information out in the system. We built out individual territories. You can do that by picking zip codes. You can do that by drawing out information at the kind of polygon level so that you can put this information together. There's a few ways to do it. But essentially, we can layer out this information, territorialize it, I guess, and then assign that to the right rep. So when they come in, they're looking at just their territory. Blake, kind of how did you guys work through sort of the territory management piece?
Yeah, so, you know, I'll back up one step. So originally at the dealership, we would assign somebody, you know, you may have been a over-the-road sales or vocational or municipal or whatever. So we don't do that. So for us, it truly is a geographic area that you have. And so just proximity for our guys, serviceability. So if I sell a customer, you know, where are they more apt to come back to one of our locations to get service, to buy parts, pick parts up, and then we kind of overlay that parts territory and that sales territory and kind of lay that out for our guys. And so we would ask any one of our salesmen inside of that territory to sell everybody, right? Whether it be municipal, vocational, over the road, et cetera.
Excellent. Okay. And then once we've got that drawn, now we've got a picture of kind of where I live in this example. And I can start to add other data to the system. So I'm going to jump in here. I've saved these layers just to make it kind of go faster. I'm not going to build one. I'm just going to kind of show you how they work. But I'm going to click into working leads, for example. And you'll notice that in Maps, it's going to overlay that information. So, and the pin here, which is kind of interesting, is in a different shape. Leads is this square box, right, with the black circle in it. My team's accounts are these pins that you see here. And so now I've got information for both my accounts and my prospects in my territory. And my territory is obviously a little bigger. I wanted to draw out the box. But essentially, this is a way to start putting that information together. But I can also grab information by account type, right? I could grab information by rep so that if I have multiple reps in a particular area, I could sort of lay that out. And I can start to take a picture of how that data kind of lines up. And Blake, do you want to talk about kind of how layers lay over and how sales reps can kind of use that?
Yeah. So a couple of different metrics, right? So if let's say, you know, this month we've got some overaged inventory on the vocational side. We got a dump truck or something like that, right? And so we can take that layer of just going to just show me my vocational customers. Right. Okay, great. If I've got a great municipal spec, something, and I want to get some attention or love on that, we can go in and say, okay, just show me the municipal customers that here. Again, over the road. So there's that. We have a dating piece. Man, who haven't I seen in a certain amount of time? We have that piece. And so really, we use that toggle between to get attention if I'm trying to promote something that's one in our inventory, something that's coming in, and so that our approach when we go into the field is a little bit more targeted, rather than I get hey, I'm just going out today. There's nothing wrong with that, but let's have a targeted approach. Let's have a goal for the day, and some talking points rather than just going in that front door to say, hey, I just thought I'd stop by and say hello.
Cool. To kind of that point, once you've got pictures of, right now I've got leads and accounts on the page, but I can start to get much more granular with this information. So if I jump in here to the back to my list of layers, I can start to see information in the system about, how I'm doing with sales revenue, right? So this is what my accounts look like, and it's going to pin the same accounts multiple times because they're essentially the same, the same accounts. Which one of these have I done over 100K with, right? Or, and some of this, knowing who is a good customer is kind of easy to sort of put together. But how about if we looked at who's not doing work with us, right? Who are the people? We're taking ERP or DMS data and using that information to say, here's the customers in my territory that I don't do much with. Maybe these are the people, right, that I need to go see, as opposed to just go and see the people who like me and the people who talk to me all the time. Having that data and having that, I can't remember how you said it, Blake, but it was like those honest conversations or those tough conversations make you better. I think Salesforce can kind of help us do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, any system is only as good as the information you put in it, right? So in Alabama, we're very fortunate to be a public state, so we know the deals we won or lost on the truck sales side. Okay, and so 60 days goes by, we get that information, and we load our registrations in by month, right? And so in some other states, RigDig or FleetSync may be something that you're using to gain information on deals won or lost. But for us, we have the ability to go and say, hey, who's not buying from me? Let's pull those guys out, and it's a conquest day, right? So today I'm going to go see conquest customers. From our parts side, again, that it's a little bit more of a transactional business, and it's okay. Like Dan was saying, it's okay to have tough conversations, right? And a salesman, the thing on a parts side that this system has shown our guys is that some of our long established salesmen continue to see the same people over and over, do very well with those people, but the share growth is not there, right? So yeah, they may be increasing their business within that one customer, but volume account is really where we want to be long term, to make sure that we have a vibrant dealership, and we're driving that business, whether it be parts and service, back to our locations. And so it's changed our hiring. It's shown us things, like I said earlier, things that we thought we knew, but now this has provided the analytics to say, yes, this is verified that we do need another salesman in this territory, or we can support another person in this territory, or the person that I currently have in this territory, we need to make a change, or we need to push them in a different direction, or whatever, whatever it needs to be. But it has shown us that like I said, our hiring has changed, how we go to market has changed, and it's been a really successful tool thus far for us.
Awesome. One last plug on some of the layers. We can also take information and sort of tier it or categorize it. So we've got activities by account here, and you'll notice when this loads, it doesn't just load one set of pins. It lets me load multiple pins. Now, it's demo data, so I couldn't really fake out data last activity. There's a lot of stuff I can fake, but I couldn't fake that one. So, I'm doing, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30. But essentially, I can take this information and draw out these pins, as you can sort of see laid out here, and take this information and just look at the records that matter to me. Maybe the only guys I want to see are the ones, right, that I haven't seen in between 20 and 30 days. And I've got that information kind of lined up here in the system. All of these kind of layers can be, as you can see, added and subtracted at will. I can get rid of any of these. I can add more as we sort of put it together. Salesforce simply renders that for me and puts it on the screen. And it's super helpful to kind of have that analysis and be able to see your territory or see a geography at a glance. But I think the more important stuff is, what are you going to do about it? And so I'm going to click into one of these records, and I'm going to click on actions here. So once we're in the tool, I think some of this probably could have been Google Maps, although I don't think you can lay all these layers. From here on out, the stuff that we're doing is kind of brilliant and kind of unique and alone to what Salesforce Maps can do. So if I click on actions here, I got a real loud sound going on in the back someplace. Somebody. There, thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So at this point, I can set what's called a proximity center, and this will draw a circle. It defaults at 50 miles around what I'm looking for. But maybe I really just want to, I'm in Manhattan. So let's see a smaller circle. Let's see a 2-mile circle. And when I do that, I've got the information kind of listed here. Here are all the records that sort of exist out there in the system in my proximity circle in Manhattan. And if I right click on this, I can take a mass action and add this to a schedule, right? And if I do that, it takes the information over here. I've already done this so I can look at it on the mobile map, but it takes this information over here and gives me the ability to simply build out a schedule. So if I'm in Manhattan and Ubering or cabbing around, I can sort of put a schedule together for the people that I need to see. And, it builds it out. It gives me some travel time in between, depending on how close they are to each other, and helps me put this together so that I've got a schedule basically to go out and see these users. Likewise, I've got the ability back in the system to do the same thing. Let's get rid of this one, and let's click into this one. Let's do the same thing. Set another proximity center. And in this example, do the same kind of 2-mile piece. I want to see, maybe this one is a driving one, right? So let's edit the shape, kind of have it move out here so I can go see some of these guys and capture that information. Maybe draw a little bit out here so I'm not going to Manhattan, but essentially take that information and start to put together a proximity circle for the people that I want to go drive to, right? And if I do that, and again, right click on it again, take the mass actions and add to route, that's going to take that information and build me out a route. Oh, I forgot to set my default location, but it builds me out a route in Salesforce so that I've got a picture of who I'm going to go see. And then I can optimize that information so that it basically takes me on a route, draws that picture for me, tells me where I need to start, tells me where I need to finish, and gives me the ability to kind of do that in an efficient way. And I know, Blake, you guys use route mapping all the time. I mean, how do you sort of draw that proximity circle, and then what do you build out to get that to happen?
Yeah, I mean, they use it every day. I mean, especially our parts guys, and then and I mean, that's the tool, right? I mean, that is what it's for our guys. And again, what I referenced is earlier, we may have a guy. I mean, I know in the Northeast, to drive 50 miles in the Northeast, you may be in another state, right? But for us, a 50-mile ride is not a long ride. That is in some areas that's within our territory of one location, and not touching another's location. So I need these guys making the most of every trip. For us, I don't know how a lot of you guys do mileage. I don't know if you guys do, fuel cards for your drivers or provide vehicles. For us, we do mileage reimbursement. They use their own vehicle, they use their own fuel, and we reimburse. And so we use this tool for that. And I want to make the most of every mile that I'm paying for. Right. And that's really kind of our intentionality behind sending somebody out. If you're going to go the 50 miles, I want the best bang for my buck. I understand that, last minute a guy may call and say, "Hey man, I need you out here," or something, or got a last minute meeting, or had a lunch open up or something, and you make that ride, you go. But on that ride back, I want to get my money's worth. And so this route mapping piece for us is very important. Very important.
Awesome.
So this is Don with Black Iron. I help implement Southland's mapping tool. What we did is, with some custom work, we were able to have them depose a meeting and actually put in their mileage, and that helped with the adoption of the tool as well, because it was the only place where they could put their mileage.
Nice.
So, yeah, it can be done.
Yeah, let me echo that, because look, CRM adoption is a challenge, right, for salespeople and staff in general. And so we've taken the approach that if I required you to put your mileage in, we migrated from Dynamics over to Salesforce. And so in Dynamics, they had that kind of hard coded. And what we would see from our guys was a once a week kind of CRM dump, right? Hey, your mileage had to be in by end of day Monday for the previous week. And they sit there Monday and then just hammer away, right? Well, we all know that if I had a meeting last Tuesday, some stuff may get lost in translation over a couple of days. I may not be as thorough or in depth on my notes in my CRM, and so we were losing some. We were losing some information and some trackability. And then we were getting, oh my gosh, I went and saw 20 customers all on Monday. Well, you didn't do that. You did it over a week. That's great. With this system here, it's almost real time, right? So our salesmen are going from point A to point B, finishing a meeting at point B, and immediately on their mobile app are putting in like, hey, I saw Tom Smith. Tom Smith has asked me to quote him the triaxle dump we have in stock, and expect quote, back within 24 hours. Great. And the mileage is there, and we hit enter, and now we're on the location C. So it's real time. And so we're seeing that data. We're seeing the data is more in depth. And so that we can follow up and see in our executive dashboards like, oh, okay, we've got this outstanding, and this is something we need to help him, or do they need any help, or a follow up on. So the piece from Don was a very nice, required for us to move forward with maps, and it's been a very seamless transition.
Nice, awesome. Okay, so without further ado, I'm gonna drag my mobile renderer onto the page. I'll just tell you, try as I might, I can't get rid of this ridiculous thing with the crown on top. So I'm ashamed of it, but oh, look at that. Sometimes it just stays there and won't go away. So I'm glad I got rid of that. So this is kind of what the mobile app looks like. In fact, I'm on my phone. You can kind of see me moving around here on my phone and see the screen move accordingly. Salesforce Maps is built from the ground up to be a mobile-enabled system, and so I've got this information kind of loaded up right here for me to be able to use it. So this is basically the layer. I think I'm looking at the My Accounts view, and I'm looking at that route map that we built over in regular Salesforce a second ago. I can look at different layers here, just like I could look at it on the desktop, but I think probably since we've seen that, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time doing that. Instead, I'm going to jump into
your sales representative who is attending to another customer, but will be with you momentarily. If you prefer not to hold, please press 1 and you will be directed.
There we go. Okay. Gonna grab information and kind of work through what we've already built. So if I go in here to the schedule piece, you can see that schedule that I built a little while ago and start to see those records kind of lined up. So I start at Omega and then go see Bob and then go see Zenith and Celadine and so on as we work through the system. And if I look at the route, I can take that information and start to work with it as well. So if I go into Gusto here, I can see the details about this record. I can view it just by clicking view here in the system, and it'll take me over there to kind of see that. I guess it's got to load, sorry about that. I can also take this information and have it take me there with Google Maps. So whatever, if you've got Waze set, or if you've got Apple Maps or whatever you've got set, it'll start to put that information together and grab it and take you where you're going to go. This takes me from my house basically into New York. So it's an hour and 34 minutes at this point. But so the user can use this to get them around, to get them through the directions and kind of work through here. Back to the map itself, I can see the details of the company. And if I go back to look at that record again, I've got the information about Gusto Manufacturing here in the system. I can look at their details and see all the information that I've got in the system. And so this is basically, your Salesforce sort of mobile app, just looking at the screen. I can look at any of the details that I've got. I can see any of the underlying opportunities that I've got in the system. I can see any of the detail. And then from here, I can start to do the things that we want to kind of capture in the system. So if I click on here and I go to log a call, it lets me take that information and, capture it. Now, one of the things that reps, I think, really like, that's, Salesforce didn't invent it, right? Speech to text existed long before they were there, but being able to use it, I think, to record how a meeting's going to go just makes it that much more seamless and easy for the reps, which is going to encourage the adoption. If you have to type with your thumbs and you have big fat thumbs like I do, it's just not going to be that great. But if you can say, the call went great, we need to grab into this account as quickly as we can. At Dave Covey, I'm going to send you a picture of this here in just a second. If I save that, the at sign didn't do. It's going to save that activity into into Salesforce for us, and everybody who's got availability or accessibility or permission to see that can now jump in and see that record. And I know, Blake, you guys, Don actually built you a custom action to kind of do that work, but can you talk about what the reps are expected to do after they get to a client and kind of how they're expected to sort of tell you about that trip report and the mileage report?
Yeah, so I touched on it a minute ago. I mean, this piece right here for us was getting real-time information and getting as much in depth as we could, right? So, we have a very wide range of sales associates for us. Okay. I think right now, I think I'm 45-ish, 42 to 45-ish years between my oldest and my youngest. And so they both have a different experience levels with mobile applications, right? And come from different generations, and that's okay. Both are successful people, and both are successful salesmen, even though they may go to market in different strategies. That's okay. So the younger guys, very quick adoption, right? Of a handheld, of a mobile app, a mobile device, and so the text to speech piece happens really, really quickly, right? And so that was something they wanted, and they almost requested, like, hey, can I just talk it in? Because they're talking to text, they're doing other things where they're talking on their phones for personal reasons. So that worked really well. The older generation of my guys said, okay, so you're wanting me to do this. How can we make it, how can we make it easier for me? Well, there's this talk to, so all you have to do is talk it. You don't have to text it. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be grammatically correct. The phone will do a lot of that autocorrect, like you saw there on Dan's demo. And so for them, they were like, oh man, that just makes my life easier. And so they adopted it we got the same adoption from both sides. I'm just trying to say they both came at it 2 different ways, right? The older generation was looking and said, hey, can you make it easier for me? The younger generation, it was almost an expectation that it would be there and be included. But it's been nice for them to return to their car after their meeting and before they're going on to the next meeting, that they're logging the call and moving on. And then I get to see it in real time to, kind of see how their day's going. If I want to get that granular, typically that's not my mode or of micromanagement on a daily basis. But if I want to go watch it, I can. And I know that we have some of our parts guys that are doing that. So it works. It does work well.
Awesome. One last thing, and this is not a maps thing, it's just a cool thing, I think, is that we've got the ability to kind of grab information out in the field to capture activities, but we can also, sorry, it's hard for me to talk and type at the same time. We can also communicate with people back in the organization using Chatter. And, one of the things that we've had with other customers is the ability to take pictures out in the system or out in the field. Here's my yard. It becomes a huge kind of way to sort of, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You can capture that information, load it into the system, and use that to kind of put this system together and grab kind of visual sort of proof, I guess, of what's going on out in the field so that you can show it to people. And, if you needed to say something about who they were, you could talk to them. But essentially, I can take information from the field from my reps and send it back essentially to the guys in the home office so that they can see that information, without even being out in the field. And a lot of our customers find that extremely useful to be able to take those pictures. And I've got to think, Blake, in your business, being able to take those pictures has got to be huge.
Yeah, let me jump in here. So we have a lot of new salesmen. So we're trying to hire people and bring, grow our base and bring more new salespeople on. So a lot of times, you'll go to a customer and say, hey, I want a truck like that. And they'll point to the old truck they have. Well, that's great. Okay. Well, hey, what's your front suspension? What's your rear suspension? I don't know. I can't find my book. I have no idea. I just need a truck like that. And that's really, that's hard at times, right? To do that, especially for new people. And so we always encourage our people that if they're referencing a truck that they want us to build a spec off of, take a picture of the VIN of the truck. And then take a picture of the truck, get a couple of walk around pictures, because maybe today yet we haven't talked about, did the customer want to trade that truck? Well, then I've already got a leg up for my used department to actually look at some pictures to see the quality of the truck that they're trading in. Hey, are we going to do a body swap? What kind of body is the condition of the body in? So we'll take some pictures of that. So yeah, the pictures are worth 1,000 words, right? And especially for our new people who may not be fully understanding quite yet what they're looking at. Take a picture and get it back to us, and we'll be able to tell you and decipher the best way to push them forward. So yeah, very nice.
All right, so we're done with Gusto. We close that down. We walk into the next record. Maybe it's, I don't know why there's 3 of them in here. I probably did this a bunch of times. Yeah, I did. To grab universal containers, and you basically just start the whole process again, right? Take me there, grab that information, and sort of load it in. It's really easy from a training perspective to use this tool in sales. I mean, people are used to using their phones now anyway. They've got the ability to it's sort of built in at their point to use their thumbs and click on this stuff and figure out they're used to using directions this way. All of this kind of stuff sort of helps us drive adoption in the system. If you can carry around basically your system and your I don't know, to-dos and your tasks on your phone, then I think you're going to be more successful in kind of putting it together. And I'll leave you with that thought as I sort of jump from here. All right, so I'm going to go back to Salesforce. Blake, if you want to just a little more on this, I'm going to run back and get back to Salesforce.
Go right ahead. You're good.
Okay. All right. So if I click into here, go back to Salesforce. All right. So the last thing I kind of wanted to show you was that once we're in here, and I go to Gusto Manufacturing, I can look in this information in the system and see all of that stuff in the activity line and the timeline that we just put in the system. So, right back in here, if I'm sitting at the office and I'm not out on the road, I've got that information in the system, and I can start to walk down this line and see what's out there. So, I've got my call here that I logged a little while ago. Of course, I left my terrible stuff in there. You can sort of see that. And if I look at the chatter piece, I can see the photo of my yard that I basically put in here as well. So all of that information that I took out on the field with me, it helped me get to the right place. It helped me record that call, and then it helped me kind of bring that back so the users in the office have it at their fingertips as well. All right, so I am 2 minutes early, but essentially, let's take a look at this. I have no big finish. Blake, if you kind of want some parting words of wisdom, and then I'll open it up for questions for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available for any questions. I basically would tell everybody, this is not, if you're coming off another CRM, changing CRMs is not a fun process at all. It's not an easy task. But if you're just adding the maps component to Salesforce, I would tell you we swallowed the whole whale right at one time, rather than taking small bites. Maybe that was the decision we made, and it's worked out. But for you that may be considering the Salesforce Maps piece, it really is provide your management level visibility, and then if you're looking, it's just a more validation of what you might already know inherently, but definitely a big help for us to put the analytics behind what we may already know.
Great. All right, so open it up to the questions. Does anybody have any questions that we can help answer? Dawn, me, or Blake?
Hey Dan, this is Jeff Baker with Next Thermal. Just quick question. I assume that, like for your seasoned sales reps, you have the ability to go in and manually create your own route based on your own routine, or that you need to see these 3 customers in addition to what Salesforce is telling me I need to do. You have some manual ability to do that?
I think I understood. Yeah. So just because I drew a proximity circle, I think, right, it doesn't mean that that's the only people that I can go see. Right. So in the map, if I want to add somebody else to a route, I simply go grab the record and add it to the route here. So so I can add one at a time, or I can do it. The mass action makes it easy, Jeff, in a big circle, but if you have 4 other people you need to go see, no problem, easy to do.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I will.
All right. Oops, sorry.
I was just going to follow up on Jeff's question. I will tell you that we have guys that have on our outside parts side that see certain customers certain days. It's just what they do. And so it's really quick to go in and just add somebody manually. Like, hey, Monday I've got to go see, this Board of Education because I go check on these buses and that's just what I do. Right. And then when you start overlaying and we had designated people inside that obviously were, higher trained or, on our implementation team, I'll just say it that way, that would go sit with them to show them how to do that. But that has been a very quick process internally for us to get them up to speed on, hey, that's manual selection. Like I know I have to see them Monday, and now who else is available? And so then kind of rounding out inside of that inside of that geographic area. So it's been easy to learn.
We've got another client actually that uses the same kind of thing where they do the same. I don't think it's every week, but it doesn't really matter. So if they have to go see these 7 clients every month, you can clone this schedule so that it creates it each time as you sort of put it together. So there's a way to clone this and take that record and create it every month for the next 10 months and just go see those guys as well, Jeff. So I don't know if that's sort of a thing where you're constantly out seeing the same people, but you can do that too. All right. Well, with that, I really appreciate it. Blake, that was awesome, man. I really appreciate you doing this for us. It was excellent. And
hey, no problem. Anytime.
Excellent. So I'm going to shut down the recording of this when I get it downloaded. It always takes a while because you can't send it directly from Teams, but I'll get it loaded up on YouTube and I'll get it out to everybody. I saw John from Feedall said he couldn't get into the meeting, and I imagine there's some other people that have that same situation. So I will get this out to everybody. For those of you who stayed, we appreciate it. For those of you who had technical difficulties, well, you're not here, so I won't be able to talk to you, but we'll get this out to you so that you've got it and you can look at it on your own. And again, thanks, Blake, so much for this. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank y'all.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.